Hey there folks, and welcome. This is going to be a review, an overview of Dakar 2025. I'm not going to be able to cover all of the big stories from all of the days. I have done that for each of the individual days in their own reports. And you might see some little clips that I've done from them in YouTube Shorts. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but let's talk about the Dakar for 2025. And let's talk about some of the big stories that happened in the bikes. And the story of the Dakar was Daniel Chucky Sanders with KTM. The Australian became the first to win for his home country since Toby Price, and gave KTM their 20th win in the prestigious Dakar Rally. And it was a dramatic category, just Rally GP alone. We had 10 finishes in the category and a whopping 45 withdrawals. Some of them were out early on. Noah for Sherco or Bula for Hero. But some of the big names fell later on in the event as well. Kevin Benavides on stage 6. Ross Branch also on stage 6. Massive accident for Pablo Quintanilla on stage 8 of the Dakar this year. And throughout all of that, Honda still managed to have a challenge. Even though Ricky Brybeck, who himself is a reigning Dakar champion, had struggled at some points and was half an hour off the win at the end. Skylar Howes, who had been competing early on as well, dropped down to 6th. They still managed to get 2 of their riders onto the podium. Adrian Van Beveren in 3rd, Tosha Shirena in 2nd. It's a big deal for Shirena as well, because 12 months ago, he crashed out on the first stage. He won the prologue and was out on the very first main test of Dakar 2024. But yeah, only 10 finishes at the end, which meant that anybody who finished who was W2RC got points. Be interested to see how that unfolds onto the rest of the Rally Raid season. And then in Rally 2, what was the story of Edgar Canet? Honestly, like, the rookie, the Spaniard, a 19-year-old rookie. He's 2 months shy of his 20th birthday. He just swept up. It's almost like he's already established himself as a generational talent. He was competing up at the front on some overall specials. His teammate in Doherty ended up picking up multiple stage wins overall, but Canet was still competitive against the big Rally GP bikes. And since he's in that dominant KTM stable, I see a bright future for him. Elsewhere, Ebster still remained competitive throughout the event, and Demonte managed to sneak a Honda onto the podium, where the rest of the top 5 were all KTMs. And there was only over one person outside of Demontier inside the top 10 who wasn't a KTM, Therick on a Cove. And then we have the Ultimate Class, and wow, all of the stories we can talk about from this edition of the Dakar with just the Ultimate Class. 13 stages, only 3 repeat winners. That's right, we had 10 unique stage winners from multiple different manufacturers as well. Toyota took the most stage wins, but then their Hiluxes have been the more established of them, and there are so many of them either under the Toyota Gazoo Racing banner or the Overdrive Racing banner. Not only that, but we also saw wins for Mini with their new petrol-powered machine, and for Dacia and Ford with their brand new machines for 2025. And when you look at the winners, we had another teenager in the car category, Saud Variawa. We had people who were getting their first scratches on the Dakar, people like Rokas Bakchuska, who has won class before and is W2RC champion in other classes, but got his first T1 Plus, first Ultimate Class win. And then you have some veterans, people like Nani Roma, who got his first stage win in a decade, or Nasser Al-Attiyah, who was just off the podium at the end of it all. But the winner, and judging by the profile that motorsports.com have done with him, potentially the richest winner in the history of the Dakar, a billionaire, first billionaire winner, first Saudi overall winner of the Dakar, Yazid Al-Raji. And yeah, the Overdrive technically a privateer entrant, even though it is essentially a TGR truck. I say truck, pickup, you know what I mean. Henk Latigan, who himself was bouncing back from having missed the 2024 Dakar due to injury, got second. A bit like Tosha Sharena in the Rally GP. But an impressive third place for a former World Rallycross champion, Matthias Ekström, with Emil Bergqvist alongside. It's a great job by them. Especially when you look at the retirement list of the Dakar and you see so many big names on there. Chief among them, Carlos Sainz. He crashed halfway through the 48-hour chrono test and had to withdraw due to damage to the roll cage. A stage later, Sebastian Loeb got disqualified due to damage to the roll cage at the end of the fourth test. I think the difference was you tried to start the next test, whereas Sainz didn't. But even then, some of the other names you might recognise, like Laia Sanz in a century, was out on stage 2. There were all of these different highlights. Golan Shishiri had to withdraw. Toby Price and Sam Sunderland after another concussion for Sunderland, in the former biker crew. The biggest headline was this was the first non-finish in Janil de Villiers' Dakar career. That's right, he's done 20 editions of the Dakar without missing a single stage. And then he was out on stage 7 this year. And that was after having gone through, having had a collision with Ariawa, his teammate. A head-on collision between two Toyotas. But overall, yeah, it was an impressive win from Al-Raji. Him and Latigan were up at the top for most of the event. There are some little bits and pieces that you could say, oh, what could have been. If we remove the penalties for all of the drivers, Nasser Al-Attiyah would be much closer in the end. He had 17 minutes of penalties, whereas Al-Raji had 4, Latigan had 2, Ekström had 1. And given that Al-Attiyah was only 24 minutes off the win at the end, it would have been a much closer podium. Though 20 minutes is still one of the closer podiums we have seen in the Dakar Rally, especially in the Ultimate class. In the Challenger class, and whilst here, there and everywhere there were all kinds of different changes for position, the top position remained unchanged, a bit like in Rally GP. Nicola Caviglasso and Valentina Pertegrini ended up winning. The third Dakar that they've competed together, the husband and wife pairing, were an hour 11 clear of Guerriero at the end, with Pau Navarro in third place. With the likes of Alquari and Kush in 4th and 5th, you'd just think, oh, this is because the W2RC competitors have got up to the top. But at the same time, people like Puck Klassen or Corbin Leverton ended up dropping way down the order, and they were competitive early on. But it was a story of former quad riders graduating up with the demise of the quad class and succeeding, even if they are people who have been a couple of years out of the quads, with the likes of our winners. And you could also see that in the SSVs. Brock Hager led from stage 4 through to the end. Javier de Soltrite, who was competitive throughout, ended up struggling and dropping off the order due to issues such as mechanical failures. There were other issues for quad graduates. You could look at Michal Andujar, who did perform well in individual stages towards the end, got a podium on the final test, but struggled over the course of the event. Likewise, in terms of some of the stage winners in that class as well, Sarah Price ended up getting a couple of different scratches as well, namely the final 2 tests. But issues in the dunes early on, mechanical issues, dropped away down the order. Rockhager won by 2 hours over Chaleco Lopez. Pinto was in 3rd place. De Santalia, who was also been compared to before, was in 4th. But it shows how consistency pays off and reliability pays off and not pushing too hard pays off. Because Zadalier in 4th place, or Gaspari in 5th even. Let's talk about Gaspari in 5th, who was 9 hours, 55 minutes and 51 seconds off of Brock Hager. Impressive. It's an impressive win from Hager. It's almost as impressive as Martin Macek's. Now, Macek didn't lead from start to finish like we've said with a couple of different classes. Mitchell van den Brink took the scratch on the first test, but Macek took the lead on stage 2 and never looked back. Even though he didn't win a lot of different tests. I mean, he won stage 2, he won stage 4, stage 5, stage 8, and stage 11. He won 5 stages over the course of Dakar, but he managed to win the class. He won the truck class by 2 hours and 21 minutes and 13 seconds over Mitchell van den Brink. And Leprai, with the switch over to DeRoy, was on the podium again, 2 hours 26:43 off the win. Again, it's one of those things of consistency, not pushing too hard, and good reliability being on his side. Zala, for instance, who had been up on the podium in the early stages, dropped down due to mechanical issues, finished 7 hours off of the win. But it's probably hardly surprising when you look at the top 6. You see the number 600, the 602, the 601, the 603, the 605 and the 606. Most of the top seeds ended up toward the top. Soltis dropped out and had to go to Dakar Experience. That's why the 604 isn't there. Same for Sugawara on the 607. But it was a great job anyways by Macek. Like 2 hours 21, I know that the truck category can be a story of domination. And after years and years and years of Kawa's domination, it looks like the likes of Iveco or the Technology Iveco adaptations are just going to be up there at the top now. But it's still a great story nonetheless. And I'm going to wrap up by talking about the other categories, some of which I haven't actually talked about pretty much the entire time. I love following the classics because you can see people from all of the different categories in the Dakar's history, cars, bikes, trucks, competing to score points based off of how close they are to the delta time throughout a stage. And in the top 5 this season, we have 5 different manufacturers and 5 very different cars in the end as well. So Carlos Santalala Mila, who won the category, was in a Toyota HDJ 80, so one of the Toyota SUVs. Likewise, second place was a Nissan Tornado pickup for Lorenzo Traglio. In third place, Raisic was in a Land Rover Series 3. As in, yeah, a classic kind of Land Rover Defender. Staniszewski was in 4th place with a Porsche 924. And yeah, that is a Porsche 924. There is a 959 as well in this class this year. And it's cool to see these classic Dakar vehicles on the stages. In 5th place was Marco Ernesto Leva with Alexei Juni alongside. They were in a Mitsubishi Pajero. It's an older generation as well, not the ones that we think of Jutta Kleinschmidt's Pajero in 2001 or the Stefan Patterhansel ones. We're talking much older because it's a classic class. And even then, 6th place, when we look at Dirk van Rompuy, was in a different Toyota HDJ 80 at the end of it. Then similarly, the Dakar Future Mission 1000 is a category that has different entries across categories. For instance, the KH70 Cavalry team of Juventini, Criado and Ribas that won was in a truck and is to do with sustainable fuels. Likewise, Ikemachi and Marquez in 2nd place were in another one that was, I believe, hydrogen fuel cell. Then the other 3 that were there in the event at the end, Pasquale, Zhu and Yang, were on Segways. I don't mean, the Segways, the kind of stand-up and ride ones, but I do mean that brand. electric motorbikes was the thing that they were making for this edition of the Dakar, and it's cool to see how the class ended up stacking up, because it's again one of those ones where you score points based off of how you perform over the course of the stage. It's 14 points in it at the end. I'm going to wrap up by talking about the original by Motul. It was heartbreak at the end for Benji Melot. The KTM rider lost by 3 minutes from Emmanuel Guienes, who picked up 17 minutes of penalties across the event. Melot only 2. However, the time loss at the end that cost Melot was because of technical issues. Waypoints not picking up on his bike. And again with the original by Motul, which is seen as very much the spirit of the Dakar. No assistance whatsoever. It's just you on your bike. They already had 15 finishes at the end of the event. Impressive stuff. Well done to anybody who gets through in that one. And I believe I see a Dakar rookie in that one. 13th finisher, Damien Bateleur. So yes, all in all, the 2025 Dakar Rally. It was enjoyable to follow. And some of the new bits that we've got for this year, marathon test, and return of the 48-hour chrono, were really fun. For me, I still want to see the Dakar return to its natural home. Dakar. I don't mind if it's one that starts in Saudi and then goes across through Egypt to the Dakar city in Senegal. But for me, there are some bits of it that just feel different. Like, it's cool to see that you can do the entire Dakar Rally within one country. It's cool to see you can get that much variation within a single country. You get that much variation when you're starting and ending in the same place. So, 5 out of the 12 stages? But at the same time, it's tricky to not think about what it is that we may have missed out on, let's say. Because when you look at names like Peter Hansel decide to go across and do the Africa Eco Race, which does do the historic route of the Dakar, we realise the Dakar is safe to do now. It is a safer route. I mean, it was only really around the time that it was cancelled that it was considered particularly unsafe. And that was only really in Mauritania. But let's see, shall we? Thank you for watching, folks. And until next time, it's bye-bye for now.